Okay. Well, hi everyone again then. And thanks for joining. Welcome to this executive roundtable on the topic of the evolving role of the L&D professional and the current impact of AI. I'll just give you a quick overview, a quick introduction of what to expect today. If my slides would be moving, there we are. Right. So really just as an intro, these roundtables that we're hosting are meant to be like a regular networking event for L&D professionals to come together. And so yeah, who are we doing this for? It's really mainly high-level learning and development professionals, trainers or coaches for businesses as well, or individuals, or even L&D service providers. And depending on the topic, sometimes it could also be some business leaders, C-level executives who maybe just want to get some ideas of what they can maybe do to enhance their L&D ecosystem in their company as well. Why are we doing this? It's really meant to be fostering an exchange of ideas, thoughts, experience, best practices between professionals across the globe. We've actually looked to participate in these types of meetings ourselves, where you can get new ideas and toy around with ideas. And there wasn't as many opportunities as we had hoped. So we decided to go ahead and also provide a platform like that for everyone to join and exchange in thoughts as well. Yeah, and just as a quick rundown really on what to expect today. So it's always about a specific focus topic related to L&D. Again, today it's going to be the journey of the L&D professional throughout the years. And we have a keynote speech again today, had by Yash. I'll give you an introduction of him in a second as well. Very, very happy to have him on today. And yeah, after that, the idea is really to open up the whole space, and everyone can get a chance to introduce themselves and explain a little bit, I guess, in regards to the topic presented, what their experiences are, what they are going through at the moment with it, if they have any ideas, any practices to share, maybe what's worked for them and what hasn't, and really make it like an open round for sharing and discussion for everyone. Right. At this point, I quickly hand over to Christian, who is the founder of today's host of Blue Elephant Solutions, and he'll give you a quick intro as well.
Thank you very much, Max, and happy to see a lot of familiar faces, but also a few new faces here in this call. And as Max mentioned already, our vision, our mission is to really add value to the community, and one way is by having this kind of calls where people can network and really start an exchange. But we also, of course, do provide some services and solutions. So one of our focus areas that we focus on is consulting companies in different areas, how they can transform their business to a more digital business. We help them to engage with the new AI tools and how they can enable their business using artificial intelligence a little bit stronger. And a very strong point that we also see that really increases impact in the organization is the gamification of processes to really make the staff engaging in the activities and the processes. Another part that we're working on for our customers is software solutions. Here we support them with project management, but also with the development of specific solutions. So in case you have any IT project that you're working on, this is where we can either support as your project manager, extended workbench, or as the developers themselves. And then another very strong part of our business is the learning solutions. Here we also provide consulting to our clients, but also learning tools. And we're currently actually also, we have a bunch of learning tools. I'm going to explain one or two in a second. But we also are now on a journey where we will provide those tools as microservices so that you can very simply include them into your existing solutions that you already have. We have customers around the globe, mainly focusing on Asia and Europe. You see a key bunch of selected references here. Singapore, Yash, you're from Singapore. We work very closely with the Singapore Institute of Technology, do many custom projects for them, but also have other clients in Asia and in Europe. Yeah, a few awards. So recognize, I think there, if you're on the website, you find many more since we started the business. And then maybe on the bottom, you see our two off-the-shelf solutions that we provide to clients, which is Knowledge Gym and Knowledge Empire. They're learning apps that focus on spaced repetition. So I myself was working for Siemens Healthineers for many years, also in the role of sales enablement and sales education. And one of the biggest pain points I always saw is we spend a lot of money on training, but after this one-off training, all the people start forgetting whatever they have learned very, very quickly, and nothing really materializes. There's no return on investment or little return on investment on training. And this is where those solutions focus on. They pick up after you have conducted an individual training, and they will go and reinforce the knowledge over a period of time so that this just gets stuck. And maybe in the space of AI, there's also two examples I quickly want to share with you. And we only have this one slide, so we're done in a second. One of the tools that we just have built is an AI coach. So this is on the example here of a job interview where you can select different personas to have a job interview. So the learner itself is the one applying for the job, and the AI takes up the role of the hiring manager, and you can practice your job interview skills. But you can, of course, apply the same thing in a business context where you, for example, want to have a salesperson training on a sales pitch to a client, or you want to have a service person having a difficult situation with one of the customers, complaining, and how is he handling this one. So this is something we customize for clients, and we also do have embedded into our existing tools an AI content generator that takes, for example, your existing PDF document of a compliance guideline or work safety guidelines and automatically generates the learning content for Knowledge Gym and Knowledge Empire out of this. So in case there's any questions on those kind of tools or services, feel free to approach us also outside of the call. But now for the main part, we really now want to focus on the exchange and really adding the value from each other to each other. So Max, I will hand over back to you.
All right. Thank you, Christian. Yeah, then at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Yash to everyone. So Yash is our speaker today, currently the program manager for learning and development at Coinbase. And yeah, he comes with plenty of experience, 17 years overall in learning and development, really from, I guess, starting out from being a trainer to leading and establishing L&D functions in big organizations like Apple, Amazon, Accenture, and of course, most recently Coinbase. Yeah, holds holds a lot of relevant certificates. He's an instructional designer, a certified L&D professional, also certified from Cambridge University as well. And yeah, has really, I guess, taken a lot of like L&D professionals or L&D departments into helping them transition into digital learning and development as well, and is yeah, very enthusiastic about the digital learning, and excited also about the transformative potential that AI offers now in the learning and development space as well, which he will share in a moment in his keynote speech. So very excited about that. Important to note, he also hosts an L&D community on WhatsApp in Singapore for thought exchange as well, and for people from professionals from learning and development to come together. So yeah, he's always open for people to join. So if you're interested in that, then please feel free to reach out to him as well. And yeah, with that, Yash, I will hand over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen, and then you can start sharing your presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot, Max. I really appreciate your question. Do you want to stop sharing yours? Then I can probably take over.
Right.
Okay. Folks, just give me one moment. This is a typical L&D thing, right? That once you are called upon, that's when things happen.
Yeah,
okay.
We can see it now, though.
Okay, fantastic. So first and foremost, thank you very much for actually having me here and investing your time to come in and listen to me. A quick few disclaimers right at the start, right? I am not here to provide any solutions or pro tips or give you some secret mantra to figure the whole transition and evolution of the L&D professional, anything. My role today, or my goal today, is that we can just structure some of the thoughts that all of us have collectively around all the developments that are happening to us as professionals and as practitioners, as developers, or as designers, whatever your role is in learning and development. I'm certain that you would also be seeing a gradual evolution in your own role. So my goal today in the next 5 to 7 minutes is to just quickly walk you through of how I have seen this transition, and then dive right into what my thoughts around it, what my thoughts around the next steps are. But I'd really love to learn from each one of you. And so with that, let me just dive in and talk to you about what is it that I'm going to be talking about in the next 10 minutes. I'm essentially going to start off by talking about how I see the transition happen, right? As an L&D practitioner, where do we come from? Where are we heading to? And what's in store for us? The larger question is, what does the future hold for all of us, right? With so many new things that are happening, generative AI, we've seen gamification, we've seen cloud, we've seen really, really sophisticated tools coming in. To how do we adapt to these really quickly? And the last and the most important part is, how do we equip ourselves, right? What do we need to do as L&D professionals? Because if we stop learning and if we stop figuring it out, then I just feel like we're dropping out the baton when it's getting passed on to us. So those are the 3 areas that I'm actually going to talk about. I'd actually written an article about this on LinkedIn, and that got like a lot of commentary and a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts around it. So I sort of evolved the story a little bit since then, but this is basically how I have seen my role personally transition over the last 17 years. So, when I became a trainer, I still remember there was a 6 weeks program called TTT. And I don't know how many of you remember this, right? It was called a Train the Trainer program with this really fat, big facilitator guide. And I had 2 different evaluations. I had one evaluation on the subject that I was going to train about, which is done through pop quizzes and tests, and I had to get a minimum of 90%, whereas everybody else was expected to be at a 75 or an 80. So I had to be the expert. And then there was this staging skills, and I don't know if any of you had the bad luck or good luck, or however you'd like to say it, but had the opportunity to attend one of those certifications where you had a group of master trainers sit inside and play roles of a nasty trainee and a difficult trainee and somebody who doesn't understand and ask you questions, and then you had a dreaded feedback by the master trainer where they would tell you that you didn't put stuff on the parking lot, and you could have kept your hands open, and you could have moved around and this walk and that walk. And that was me. And I was supposed to be the expert in the classroom. I was supposed to be that one person who dabbled between being a teacher and a trainer. And then somewhere, maybe half a decade later, my role transitioned to becoming a facilitator. And I'm sure that a lot of you would have experienced this, where you were getting trained on how to facilitate and how to put the question back to the trainee, and how to get group learning coming in, and how to form smaller groups, and giving them discussion case studies and the Harvard case study approach and all of that, right? I mean, our role was expected to facilitate those conversations as opposed to being the expert. And boy, was I happy to sort of move away from those huge facilitator guides to simple group making exercises. But then my role changed again, right? And off late, people don't want to learn from an e-learning program or a classroom anymore, right? They want to learn on YouTube, and they want to learn on TED videos. And I think TED was a lot before YouTube, because YouTube was more for fun, but TED was the one thing that people would get in. And I still remember this really fancy Steve Jobs speech at the Stanford commencement, and almost every trainer that I knew of was playing that in their soft skills session, whether it made sense to the curriculum or not, but everybody played either to show how he presented or show how he prepared, so on and so forth, right? So what we transitioned into was we became content curators, right? We started bringing in ideas, we started bringing in material, we started equipping the knowledge part of it, and our role became more to just structure that and present it. And just while we were trying to figure out the transition between being a facilitator to being a curator, we had ChatGPT, and we had Facebook, and we now have Instagram, and we have a bunch of other tools, right? So there's a lot that's happening, and our evolution as L&D practitioners is just going on to the next level. So what is the next level, right? It could be very different for every individual. So if you're somebody with a background in knowledge training, you're looking at a completely different set of solutions now, so sophisticated just to help you. And if you're somebody who's from a skills training background or from a coaching background, and you have a whole different set of things that are happening in the space. But while these transitions happened, right, something else also changed. The tech changed, right? There was a huge change on the platform. So if you're still someone who's trying to figure out which is the next best LMS, then let me just tell you, you don't need an LMS anymore. You've got amazing material. You've got amazing online portals now, LinkedIn Learnings and Udemy's and EDX and a bunch of those tools. To social media, right? People are on that, glued to it, scrolling through, or even material available at a click of a button. Like, I don't even remember anybody learning how to cook anymore. I mean, everybody's more interested in checking out a YouTube video on their morning breakfast or what they're going to cook, and just learn that in 5 minutes and just get started. So everybody is a Michelin star chef these days, right? Just by watching a few videos here and there. And my 13-year-old cousin was showing me Snapchat, and I didn't even know this tool existed. And this is look and forget content, right? 60 seconds, watch it, view it, like it, and forget about it. It's gone. It's gone into thin air. All of these are changes that impact the engagement of the learner as well. This impacts us as L&D practitioners. It involves us to think out of the box, to keep that attention going in for the audience. So what's changing with the audience? And I know I just spoke about it, but there are, in my view, right, there are three massive changes that have happened already. And if you're someone like me who's still trying to figure it out, then these are the areas that you may want to start thinking about, right? First is the attention span of our learners has gone down to 60 seconds. If your content's not catching their attention in 60 seconds, we've pretty much missed the bus, right? They don't want to search 200 clicks to reach to an LMS, which will connect to an HRIS, which will give you a report. They want learning available when they get stuck at something, right? And last but not the least, they are used to some really, really sophisticated content. I don't know if you watch some of these YouTube videos like NAS Daily and things like that. They spend so much on producing a simple 1-minute YouTube video that the content is so rich that people are so used to it these days. Even a simple home chef wants to talk about lighting and wants to talk about where does the material come from, and how can a summary of the ingredients come in, and a vlogger would have really sophisticated microphones. So content's getting richer and it's getting more engaging and it's getting far better quality. So these are three things that our audience is getting kind of used to, right? And last but not the least, all of them are talking about on demand every time. Nobody's talking about proactive learning, reactive learning, prescribing to a program, or going through a subscription anymore. Everybody's talking about, I want to know this now. How do I figure it out? Tell me now. And what I want to know is extremely different from what you would want to know, or what Max would want to know, or what somebody else would want to know. So it has to be personalized. It has to be on demand. It needs to be right then and there. And these are the transformations that I'm seeing, or that I've been wondering how can I keep up with as an L&D practitioner. So just while we were trying to figure all of this out, we have this new buzzword, right? Generative AI, ChatGPT, Bard, and 500,000 tools on LinkedIn, and everybody posting about it, and on Instagram, everybody talking about it, and things can be made on Midjourney, like in a click of a button, describe it and it's made. And believe it or not, while we were figuring out on-demand, personalized, every time, anytime, to, hey, we don't need you, the knowledge repository is now available at a click of a button. This is really happening, right? This has happened. ChatGPT, Bard, these tools are here, and they make content consumption extremely, extremely easy. So what does the future hold for us? Well, to be very honest, I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out what does the future really hold for us, right? And I could only summarize it in absolutely 2 phrases. As an L&D practitioner, you have the option to either embrace it, accept it, that it's here, and I need to adapt quickly to this changing environment, or for the fact of the matter, risk being obsolete. As much as I'd like to tell myself that, the way I can deliver material and make it engaging and personalized and resonate it to the individual, the fact is that people will choose to reach out to AI, use that to their advantages, improve their efficiencies, make things happen much faster. So instead of going ahead and trying to combat it, or trying to say, we've got to, ban it or not have it or think around it. I think we should just embrace it, just accept it, use it to our advantage, figure out how can we supplement to the rich content that it can produce, and figure out as L&D practitioners, how can we take this to the next level? And having said that, then the big question comes, how can we transform ourselves, right? And when I was thinking about it, again, these are thoughts that I had. The first and foremost, right? And I actually started doing it myself. I took an introduction course in generative AI to understand really what is it all about. And I highly recommend each one of us to continue to educate ourselves on these technologies, whether it is generative AI, whether it is more data patterns through machine learning. It could be newer tools that are using this as a platform, content management tools, integrating AI, all these. I think it's super important that you dedicate yourself some time to go out there, make that intentional effort to learn the tech side of it, to understand what can this technology do and what is it that it can supplement you with. The second part that I strongly feel each one of us as L&D professionals need to right away get into is to be able to harness the potential of it. I know Christian spoke about a tool that they've developed, which can equip you with AI and content management. And I've seen several tools actually integrate generative AI into their functioning and provide some very sophisticated solutions. I think it's extremely important to harness it. Whether you're trying to develop better content, you're trying to develop better effectiveness measurements, whether you're trying to aid yourself when it comes to delivery, or when it comes to you going ahead and measuring the return of investment. These tools, you have very sophisticated tools at each level of ADDI, and each of these can be very, very useful and can build your efficiency super, super fast. The third part that I thought was to foster its adoption, not only in the L&D space, but even when it comes to the operations. For example, I know I've had a considerable experience in the contact center part of it, where we used to do a lot of assessments once the individual understands the material and do testing and things like that. But you have tools now which can just eliminate the testing out of it and make it more real life through conversation, create sandboxes, create artificial customers, and give a very real life simulated environment. So while this is only from a contact center part of it, I strongly believe as L&D practitioners, we need to think beyond the learning and see how these tools can aid in the application, and that will overall reduce the learning time, right? The moment you reduce the learning time, the more you increase the engagement. The more you increase the engagement, the better receptiveness you can see around the content and the material you're putting out. And so highly recommend everyone to sort of work towards fostering this globally. And last but not the least, right? Continue to humanize learning. And what do I mean by that? Yeah, I know a little earlier I said that people are going to switch to tools and ChatGPTs and BARTs to get their answers. But there is still a very important aspect of learning, and that's the experience, right? People learn the best when they're sitting at the edge of the seat and are experiencing something that they haven't experienced anytime before. That's what makes learning stick. And this could be very different, right? It could be through empathy, it could be through you relating to their situation, you're figuring out a potential disability of where learning needs to happen, whatever the case is, the idea is that learning is still a very human process. So while you use AI to aid your experiences, I think it's extremely important that you don't forget that you are that human element in that entire journey. And AI is here to supplement you and not take your role over. So those are the 4 ways that I personally feel that we can transform as practitioners. I'm going to pause here. I know there's a time check on this, but those are some thoughts that I had. Happy to take questions, happy to learn from you out of your experience to see how you are transforming the L&D teams in your respective clients, organizations, solutions. Happy to sort of dive in and understand that further. Thank you very much. Max, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yash. Let me quickly share my screen again. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for these insight and your experience. Does anyone have any questions with regards to what Yash just presented? And again, I mean, we'll open this whole thing up later as well for you to exchange. But is there anything immediate, I guess, regarding Yash's thoughts and his experiences?
Yeah, I think it's interesting about that humanized bit. That's absolutely key, because yes, people can go off and self-access stuff that's freely available all over the place. But it is essential for me to have someone, not for everyone, some people are just quite happy going off and doing their own thing. But it's when you actually engage in the moment, that edge of the seat moment that Yash was talking about. And that's the key to it for me. As for embracing it, absolutely yes, you've got the writers out on strike in Hollywood, but we all know that's going nowhere. That's going nowhere. They're fighting a losing battle, because if you can do something that's much quicker and simpler, you will do it. End of.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Both aspects are super important, right? Humanizing learning, getting them excited, getting them at the edge of the seats, getting them to experience what it might be like or what it can be like is super important. But at the same time, it needs, with the tools that we now have at our disposal, you've also got to realize that humanizing is going to be equally more difficult, because it's going to be more personalized. For example, let me take an English language example, right? Earlier, there was a time, right, when I did my CELTA, they taught us about approaches like test, teach, and test. You figure out and now that whole testing part of it, right, is going to sort of go away, because it's people are already trying to interact with translators and trying to figure out how to get their points across and get their messages across. So do you really need to do that entire rigmarole? Answer is probably no. You need to figure out what is it that this person specifically doesn't know or is struggling with when it comes to the language, and just build on that, as opposed to going through the entire process. So I'm a big fan of the whole ADDIE process, right? Analyzing it, designing it, developing it, implementing the right solution, then going ahead, evaluating it, going back to the client, to the customer, to the stakeholder, giving them the effectiveness. But it's going to go away, right? Today, that entire cycle will need to be put into piecemeal and only made relevant in sections, is what I'm envisaging the whole array to go. But again, there are certain aspects that would still require the whole cycle. But again, it's going to be a selective section, in my opinion. A lot of the good to have material is now going to switch over to some of these tools. But yeah, humanizing it with the aid of AI will be equally challenging.
I mean, also to bring in another, I mean, the most familiar form of me for AI before all this started some years ago is obviously, I'm thinking appreciative inquiry and the work of David Cooper Ryder and the talk about how learning is a social process. You know, how do we fit that bit in, the social process of actually sitting in a training room with someone or sitting around a webinar with someone, you know, the breakout rooms on Zoom, Teams, that's where you get the really powerful stuff as well. So there has to be a place for the humanize and I would put socialize as well.
Completely agree. Socializing is so important. I mean, no matter how much AI comes in, right? I mean, people are still paying the top buck to get into the Oxfords and the Harvards of the world, right? I mean, they still have a waiting list. They still want people to come in. So yeah, people are. I mean, learners are aware that there is an incentive towards social learning, but now they don't want to learn from the commencement speech of Steve Jobs. They want to learn from what their CEO has in store for them, or what their two-level above manager, what's his definition of success. So with more sophisticated technology, the gap between the ideal and your wish to be there is going to sort of narrow out, in my opinion. And COVID, if nothing else, but COVID taught us one thing, that you can get everybody on Zoom, and you can get everybody on Google Meet with 200 or 300 odd people now being able to log in at the same time. So everybody can jump in, ask questions straight away. So yes, but socializing learning, I think, is super important and has a huge incentive, and no matter what tools come in.
Yeah.
Yes, this is Sujata here. And first of all, thank you for bringing out wonderful points. I'm sorry I'm not able to come on to the video because of slight bit of network issues. But adding to what we were speaking about socializing and the point that you brought in, where we are moving from absolutely from a trainer to a facilitator to a curator and into AI today. I think one of the things I have been really reflecting upon is, while we have AI generated content, which we can definitely leverage, and there is the curated content from the experts or the facilitators, looking at, bringing a balance in that quality and relevance, because as facilitators or as experts, you may probably understand the need of a person and to personalize it to those situations or customize the content versus, what is coming in from AI. And also some part of the potential biases that may be in AI algorithms, because it's not fully customized to the people or their needs, is something where, I think L&D professionals can give a lot of value while we are leveraging those content. This is a thought that was coming to me. This thought I'll share. Thank you.
Absolutely. So true, right? Every learner's need will now need to be addressed. But it's not only the L&D professional that's actually thinking about it, right? We actually have this as a thought coming out from social media as well. Social media has a very good understanding of the need of what you want to see that will keep you stuck to TikTok or Facebook forever. And they've got some really sophisticated algorithms to do that. And as a matter of fact, I was just seeing one of these LMS platforms recently in its deployment. And they have brought in a similar algorithm for people inside the organization. So your top performers will see a particular type of content, will get invited to a particular training. Your medium performers will get a particular insight. Folks who got their performance evaluations done and have got a needs improvement in certain area will automatically have supplementary material being pushed out to them. So it's not only the L&D professional who needs to start catering to individual needs. You have very sophisticated systems now that can actually help you put this entire experience, this whole personalized journey for each individual into perspective. So imagine, when 5 years ago, I was trying to talk about hypo programs. And today I don't need to, because I can just have the material built and the HRIS integrated to the LMS, to the material going out, to then being evaluated through tools like Metal and a bunch of other tools. Guess what? It just comes together in a click of a button. So yeah, definitely something that is absolutely available. But
Thank you.
thanks a lot, Sujata.
I think I've just quickly moved the slides ahead here because I think we're very much engaged in an open discussion at this point, which is fantastic, by the way. So thank you guys for giving your thoughts on this as well. Yeah, as you see, we just really want to give everyone the chance to share and maybe just quickly introduce themselves as well. And maybe share what their current project is and what difficulties they might be facing and the experience that they've had with, how their role has transitioned maybe, and whether they maybe are using AI at this point or looking to do so, or I don't know what their experience is with everything. So please feel free, everyone, to to start sharing at this point as well. Oops. Apologies. There we go.
Maybe we can also moderate that. So the idea is that we also help you to build a network. So if you have any questions now, feel free to introduce yourself very briefly, what you're working on, how you see the learning and development roles are changing through these technologies, where you see a focus, if there's any tips and tricks that you have to share, any experiences that you have maybe similar as Yash. And what we can do is if there's somebody that wants to go first, else I would maybe just go through the list here that I have in front of me, and maybe we can start with Ashwarya. If you want, you can very briefly introduce yourself. Who are you? What company are you working for? And any thoughts on the role and changing of learning and development.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much. My name is Ashwarya. I work for a digital marketing firm in Hyderabad. That's Media Mint. In terms of the changes, I think there's been a rapid change, of course, with the technology, but also with Gen Zs coming in. There is a different change in mindset altogether, from how millennials used to learn to how Gen Zs perceive information now has drastically changed. And I think that definitely has become a challenge now.
Absolutely. That's what Yash also mentioned earlier, was this TikTok kind of style of training, definitely. Ankita, do you also want to briefly introduce yourself and share your thoughts? Ankita, are you there? Then maybe we just move on to Brendan. Brendan.
Some persons are mute, probably it depends on mute.
Looks like it, yeah. Okay, I'll just go through the list. Joe, we already heard from you. Do you want to add anything? Maybe quickly also introduce yourself, what you're doing, and any additional thoughts?
Yes, Joe Higgins-Chetzer, Managing Director of Beaumont Training and Consultancy in Nottingham, UK. Currently looking to do a collaboration with Christian about using resilience training for embedding purposes, because I'm really, really interested in that. That's my specialism, resilience training, not in IT resilience, in personal resilience. Tips and tricks. I was really interested in what Yash was saying about the attention span, because I had to take all my resilience workshops and make them accessible to teenagers during the lockdown period. And I did this by using videos. And so I'm absolutely delighted that Yash said that, because these 15-year-olds love my videos. I think it must say a lot for the quality of them. Also currently working with the Nigerian Drug Enforcement Agency via webinar. And I suppose one of my questions there is, these are people that do a lot online, but they hate it. Budgets are very tight. Educational systems are quite old-fashioned still. I'm wondering, if I could actually engage them in AI-generated learning, whether they would actually go for it. And obviously, I don't know the answer to that question, but very much looking forward to collaborating with you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Joe, I believe there are so many tools these days. I'm trying to refrain to not name too many, but I just did a demo of a tool called 7 Taps, or a tool like that. And the tool was absolutely like Instagram, but with learning content on it. And I was so amazed to see in 7 taps, you actually get your message across. One of the taps can be a video, one of the taps can be some audio. And I thought it was a very creative idea. It's not just one tool, but there's so many such tools that we're seeing recently. And I'm very certain that, I personally don't enjoy going through lengthy L1 e-learning content myself, especially those compliance courses. So I can pretty well imagine what the younger population might be going through. But yeah, there are several tools.
I might message you to find out more, if that's okay.
Sure.
Cool. Thanks so much. Dipti, do you also quickly want to introduce yourself and your thoughts on this topic?
Hello, everybody. I'm Dipti Jain from Indore, Taskus. And although I'm not from L&D background, I'm trying to be a part of this new article. And I think although there is a lot of information available on internet, but what is specifically needed is only possible through human intelligence. So I think the collaboration between both these are very much needed for effective learning. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. Jay would be the next one on my list here.
Jay, we can't hear you. Yeah. No, you're still on mute. Jay, you may want to just see your audio settings at the bottom where there's a mute button. Just click on that. There's an audio settings option. Click that to computer audio, and I think that should get you going. You can choose the microphone and choose the speaker.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you now. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Jay. My position at the moment is founder and CEO of my, I want to call it an AI-driven learning and development company. I'm just forming it. The reason why I'm doing it, and I think Yash, you called it out earlier on, answer the question is, I want to disrupt the whole L&D industry because I want to stop them burning cash on stuff that they don't need to do. So my company is actually looking at how do we do intelligent learning, as I call it, which is providing personalized learning at the point when it's needed, not when it's either too early or too late. And how do we do that with a whole ton of AI apps and solutions to literally drive what I call sort of the old ADDIE model, but drive it end to end. So my company is actually being formed as I speak. So it'd be great to, network with everyone on this call to either to get your input on my pitch deck or to get your input on whether I'm actually dreaming and doing something completely different. So I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, but I'm connecting to people, where is it, in South Africa, in Germany, and in Japan. For the last few days, we're just having calls with people around the world. And as I say, my current project is to actually build an end-to-end learning model, which is AI-driven, and probably with that, a lot of human intervention. So using my experience in the L&D industry, I worked for many multinationals around the world, had one of the biggest L&D in Australia until I left in March. And I just think it's a really good time to disrupt the whole marketplace, which I think is just right. Tips and tricks. The biggest experience that I've had in the last few weeks since I left my full-time role is the lack of maturity and the lack of awareness in senior executives when it comes to, number one, understanding the value of learning, but then number two is shaping their learning strategy, which embraces AI. They just don't get it. So that's probably a really good place to start to have these conversations. And I suppose the question for this group is, for a lot of my career, I was a great believer in the 70-20-10 model. And with what's happening with generative AI and how fast you can build content and drive solutions, are we, I'm not quite sure what the ratios are, but are we verging on a different playing field where 70-20-10 could actually shift into something different? So that's my world at the moment.
Thanks for sharing, and feel free to connect with some of the people after the call then to maybe have a deeper discussion on the pitch deck. Cheryl,
yeah,
also curious. Then next,
actually, just before we go to the next person, right? So Jay, on your piece on 70-20-10, right? We just very recently had a conversation in my organization. So we used to do this really cool thing, right? At the end of every training, we would actually show us a slideware on the Zoom piece. Tell them these are the activities that you could do at the park is 70. These are the people you can connect with. These are the folks you should be talking to. Your next 2 levels above, 2 levels below in your 20, and then your 10. These are some recommended courses on LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, EDX, so on and so forth. And we used to do this after every training of ours. I continue to do that almost everywhere. But we recently had a conversation, and we realized that now that whole ratio is changing to a 5, 15, 25, 35, 10. And what is a 5? 5 is just go do your work. Do it the way you do it. Don't change anything. 15 is for you to go ahead and ask questions to AI, right? In your knowledge repository, in your content management tool, read up, figure out, get the knowledge. 25 would be to pay attention to some of the other material that's easily accessible on the LMS. And the 35 would be to actually interact and humanize the part that we just spoke about. And when you're doing all of that, to go ahead and have some sort of a consolidation so that you can take notes, figure it out, use Notion, use something that will give you the better structure. And we can definitely discuss offline as well, but why this way? Because we believe that it's directly proportional to the amount of time you have or you are engaged to the whole process of learning, as opposed to just trying to figure something out through content. So that's what we've been talking about. That's what we've been thinking about. But with BARD and things like that, I think a lot of that's going to change as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yash, I'll check in with you. Thanks for the input, though. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Cool. Christian, thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot. So we only have a very few minutes left, but I still want to give everybody the opportunity. Maybe Lisa, you also briefly want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Christian. I'm Lisa. I work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm based in the UK. I cover many of the ex-US countries globally. In terms of learning and development, I'm very new to the area, which is why I'm on here, just to network and to learn and to hear what you wanted to say. I had a senior executive role, which was commercial, and I've worked sort of in learning and development in terms of facilitating and delivering general training. However, my role now is in more of a leadership role, and it's about the creation, the strategy, the needs analysis. Jay, I really loved your point, actually, that you made about the senior executives and their view to learning and that lack of awareness and understanding. And that really sort of resonated with me as well. One, from experience, but two, from seeing actually on the other side. So in terms of any projects, that I don't have any major projects at the moment that I can share. But I think the training that I work on is very much, we're highly compliant and highly sort of audited in everything we do with our teams, especially our field forces. So I'm just looking at ways to facilitate learning, obviously moving forward in the future. And this is one small component of all the learning that I need to do to make myself an L&D expert pretty quickly.
Perfect. Welcome to the community then. And I hope that we'll see you more often here, and that you also have the chance to connect with a few people after the call and start networking. Then I think Maximilian Kamp, you would be the next one.
Yes, hi from Germany. I think my camera is working now. Nice meeting you. Interesting talk. Saying hi from Berlin. I founded a company at the beginning of this year, and what we are doing is basically aggregating all the content providers. Yash, you just mentioned Udemy, edX, but also very niche providers, offline providers, into one platform, and using AI to provide these contents to employees. And super happy to join the community, and amazing what you're building over there in Asia.
Cool. Thanks for joining, and also sounds super interesting what you're building. We need to talk after the call.
Yeah, let's do it.
Last one then on the list, Michael. Michael, do you also quickly want to introduce yourself?
Okay. Just, my name is Michael, and I'm working in Germany in some financial accounting. So I'm interested for entrance for learning and development items and topics, and for 1 year I've get acquainted Blue Elephant solution, and I was interested in this topic because the future will be in the learning items and science. I try to add my knowledge in this topic. So I'm living in Ludwigshafen, and I'm working in Heidelberg. But my current projects is not with human resourcing or some learning projects. I'm just working for financial content. So that's about me.
Very cool. Thank you so much for the introduction. Now, at least everybody had the chance to briefly introduce themselves. I would now really open up. A lot of people already start leaving the call, but if you're interested, we can stay a little bit longer. We can share a little bit more, pick up on something that the other person might have said, a question they might have asked. So this is now really open exchange, and whoever wants to leave, needs to leave, just drops out of the call.
Hi guys.
Oh,
I just wanted, yeah. So I just wanted to introduce myself here. My name is Mona Lisa. I'm from India. I'm very new to this L&D community, L&D field. So guys, a good job on that. It was really interesting. Yash mentioned points which I guess I needed to know a little bit more. So thank you for that. And everyone here gave me an insight that was great. And thank you so much. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa. Great. And so what are the main pain points that you're facing at the moment, Mona Lisa, when you say you're very new? What are the topics you're working on?
So right now I am like the role that I'm in right now in L&D, it is more of delivery or making the content and then delivering it. So as Yash was talking about more AI into the picture and how this 1 minute videos, how do we captivate our audience, taking help of this AI things, creating videos, what kind of videos that we need to produce, and what kind of content we need to engage our participants with. So right now, those are the challenges. As Aishwarya also mentioned, that right now the Gen Zs, they are in pictures. So that kind or that connection needs to be made from millennial to Gen Z, the generation gap that we are talking. So working in their nature is becoming a challenge right now. Understanding their point of view, how to hook them, how to engage with our content. So that is something that I'm really working on, trying to explore a bit more, and talks like this are definitely helping.
You know, Mona Lisa, I was reading a paper written by Google about, so there was a project that Google launched for all their top YouTube video creators, you know, the ones who make the highest revenue. Yeah. And they brought out a paper that said that they were pushing them to reduce the size of their videos and bring it down to probably within sub 7 minutes. And somewhere around 2022, they actually dropped that project. And, you know, when you read the paper, you actually realize that they dropped the project because some of the longer form content was more relatable and had higher viewership. So when you think of it, you're like, why would that happen, right? It's not the quality of the video, but it's how relatable that video is to the participants. That makes a lot of difference. For example, in an organization, I don't want to know what a senior vice president is doing. I want to know what my friend did to become successful. And that content is so important, or that personalized content is so important. So yeah, definitely to what you just said, right? Though we have AI and a bunch of new tools and things, making the content more relatable will help you get more viewership for sure.
Yes, I completely agree with you here. The moment you said personalized things which are relatable, that becomes a challenge right now, because for us, maintaining something or talk, like there has been such a gap right now that we are seeing in the picture. So making it personalized is something that is coming as a challenge. So more work to us.
Absolutely, more work for L&D practice, and more work is always good work.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for opening this platform. Thank you.
Sure, very welcome. Cool. Any other points? I see a lot of people are dropping out at the moment, but any other thoughts, any other things you would like to share? Good. Then I think we'll close this call. Feel free to network outside, in LinkedIn, and that's the whole idea, to get conversations started. And if you are interested, or if you have any interesting topics to share also in the future, feel free to reach out to us. We try to organize this kind of calls every month on different topics and with different keynote speakers. And at this point in time, again, Yash, thank you so much for this great discussion. I think there was so much coming out of this. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Yash.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.